In August 2012, Duck was shopping in the Gold Coast neighborhood. The murder of FBG Duck shocked the rap game in 2020, but no one anticipated the trial to get even crazier. From family members bringing knives to court to other murders being solved over the case, we're breaking down all the crazy things happening inside the courtroom so far. Although this is one of the wealthiest and least violent areas of Chicago, it didn't stop for alleged O-block shooters from allegedly rolling up and firing nearly 40 shots in a matter of seconds. Duck was left bleeding out in the street after taking 16 bullets, and the police did nothing but watch as he slowly died. Since Duck was killed in a nice part of the city on broad day, the police took the case much more seriously, and even the federal government got involved. Duck had been at odds with the BDS for years, and most people believe that O-block was to blame from the beginning. Murders in Chicago are regularly solved. Came up with the decision to drop a federal RICO case against UK and Indeed C for the murder of Duck. 3 years later, RICO is finally going to go on trial, and it's been an insane case from the beginning. Duck's mother was already ejected from the courtroom 3 times. The first time occurred after they discovered a 1/4 ounce of marijuana on her. She then got into an altercation with one of the defendant's mothers, and on the 3rd occasion, they had to ask her to leave because she lost control while the courtroom was showing footage of Duck's murder and autopsy. Her family isn't the only one that has been ejected of the court, even though it's a huge matter that KN, the sister of C. Murder, was discovered carrying a knife in the courtroom and wasn't charged with it. In fact, media representatives are being ejected from the trial, and a blogger by the name of Mikey Truth was. Since cameras are not permitted in federal cases, she reported on what was happening behind closed doors during the trial and caused some serious problems when she began recording testimony. Doug and FBG Butter were close, so FBG Butter testified right away after he took the stand. Mickey True then revealed to her followers that he was paid by the Fae to testify, which proved to be a total fabrication. She claimed that either his mom or he received $2,700 to work with the police, but none of that was true. Mickey Truth later posted a correction, but his mom hit her up. Butter became extremely impressed by this and attempted to flee. A month before Mickey Truth began causing trouble, an FBI special agent named Kevin warned her that she was playing with some dangerous people. The court was still going to allow Mickey Truth to watch the trial from a different room, but she chose to leave Chicago. Doyle testified that the federal government only looked through the cell phone records of 3 of the accused shooters because they were concerned about the safety of the witnesses. Doyle also informed the court that there had previously been retaliation against witnesses connected to this group. He did not specifically name the crew, but it was widely assumed that he was referring to O-block killings. Witnesses who discovered who was speaking after he testified said that some defense attorneys wanted the case to be thrown out because they believed Doyle had unfairly manipulated the trial. Because this is a federal RICO case, the prosecution must demonstrate that Block is a criminal enterprise in order to convict a shooter of murder and furtherance of RIN. Rather than dismissing it as a routine murder, the judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support a mistrial. However, the defense team retried after Mickey Truth was ejected from the courtroom, arguing that her right to free speech and the defendant's right to a public trial had been violated. This was a pretty feeble defense, however, and the judge chose to allow the trial to continue. Given that the federal government has a 96% conviction rate in RICO cases and that things aren't looking good for the guys from O-block, it makes sense that the attorneys would stop at nothing to end the trial when the initial reports surfaced that O-block was being targeted by the. Until the next shocking piece of evidence emerged, many believed that RICO was the case. The war in Chicago that ultimately resulted in Duck's death began in 2011 when Tuka, a GD from Duck's set SCEBT, was shot and killed at a bus stop. Rumors circulated that BD Perry was. OD was so well respected that the neighborhood changed its name in his honor. He was engaged in the hit, and less than a year later, he was shot and killed while riding his bike down the street. No one was ever charged with OD's murder, despite the most widely circulated allegation. Is that FG? Butter, along with the girl who represented the GDs and Key, were implicated in the shooting, they went sliding on the Ops' birthday and called OD on their own. It was reported that Butter corroborated the account in his testimony after he was accused of killing OD, and Key became one of the Ops' most despised for being Ook. Claimed to be exerting significant pressure on him in the streets, but she also had an odd relationship with King Von B. Some BDS also allegedly beat her up on the train, and they made fun of the incident on Twitter. Key then clapped back at the beginning of the 40 cows, which punched a hole in their faces and began sending death threats. Threats were exchanged, but on the same day that Key tweeted, "Retweet if you think I look good," Vaughn promptly did the same. They flirted wildly on Twitter while pursuing each other's crushes in public. A few years later, someone leaked their purported DMS, which showed that they were trying to hook up. Along with Key and getting King Von, they are accused of killing a general dealer from Draw City named 5. J Money, Big A La Capone, and Manny are said to have ambushed him as he was attempting to gain weight and mercilessly executed him by shooting 6 rounds into his face. Bond was arrested on an unrelated charge shortly after the incident. Down, and Key was unable to get even with him. Instead, Key is said to have killed J Money. Key also allegedly made fun of Vaughn for losing J Money. After that, Vaughn allegedly turned from wanting to hook up with her to wanting to kill her, but not before she allegedly killed another BD who was connected to Chief K Love Money. Was Chief K's cousin and supposedly not even active in the streets because the BDS had recently killed Key's sole child, Lil Bio. She is accused of sitting on him and shooting him in the chest, and Key died the same day, April 11, 2014, while Key and FG Butter were heading to their homie Wook's residence. A man from a block named J Hoods, Sokem Capone reported that Vaughn claimed he took a route shortly after it went. Vaughn was suspected of being the shooter for a long time. Butter was injured in the leg and survived, while Key was shot at least 6 times and died a few hours later. However, most people still think that Mom pulled the trigger. On the track War With Us, he even rapped knocking all that me out, Uring Taco hollow tips spinning like Cyclone's FaceTime. A like iPhone put it pretty up more. Vaughn was brought in for questioning over the murder, but the police didn't have enough evidence to book him. Vaughn stated that F wasn't the shooter, but F didn't kill Kyra, period. And I'm not saying that because F didn't kill Kyra, I was shot too. I saw the who blasted us. I dropped that magnificent crap, I'm heartless. You can call me the Tin Man. Done, and it was developed in such a way that it was a facade. But you have to consider that while Fine claimed responsibility for many killings that actually occurred, other people believe that AC was also involved, and Bono led WS about the two of them taking Key out on the track and waiting when he WS. When we reached the alley, I told the audience, "Bro, wait, you know King Bond does his thing." I hopped out saying, "No, I don't play, and I'm on my waist." For years, no one knew who had actually taken Key out. But during the FBG Duck murder trial, Butter took the lead. The stand and ultimately revealed to everyone who pulled the trigger, which is why there isn't any video of his testimony because it's a federal trial, that King Von killed Caught, but that he is the only witness to what happened that day. He also informed Chemcom1 News that he only told them about Von killing her because V is no longer alive, but he received a lot of criticism for making a stand. He claimed, however, that he was only carrying out his duty and that no one was upset about what he had revealed to the court. He also stated that the reason he had never disclosed to anyone that V had been a shooter in the past. It's because Butter wanted to kill V himself rather than have them imprisoned, but Butter also claimed that everyone knows the dangers of street lights and that the Hops weren't doing anything to the Hops that they couldn't handle. This proved that Vaughn's claim that Key was killed by Butter was untrue. But another testimony in the Duck SHW revealed even more startling trench news. He had been making movies about the conflict in Chicago for years, and because he lived there, he always claimed to know a lot of the guys involved on both sides. However, because he always wears a face mask in his videos to disguise his identity, suspicions began to circulate a few weeks after the trial began. Nobody was prepared for what happened next. Flying That Trench's News was supposed to testify on the trial, but in an interview with No Jumper, He made it seem like it was all cap and said that he's not part of nothing. Then news broke that the Trenches were actually taking a stand. Trenches News identified some of the old block dudes in surveillance footage from Duck's murder and joked about him being Michael Douglas. The GDs found out he's been a paid foreman with the FBI for almost a decade. They also revealed his real name and that he used to live in O'Block. Jordan of YouTube informed the court that he was a BD who had resided in O'Block in the past but that he had switched sides in 2010 due to internal conflict. He was shot after beginning to rock with the GDs, tied to Duck, and shortly after that, Trenches News reported his death. Reached out to the police and volunteered to assist with the investigation. He said that he no longer engages in gang banging and that he uses his YouTube channel to prevent children from following in his footsteps. However, in the same testimony, he discusses his first shooting incident, which he termed a rush. FBI Special Agent Kevin Doyle testified at the feed that paid Trenches News roughly $25,000 for his assistance. He claimed that Trenches would review social media posts and surveillance footage and provide background information. According to Trenches News, Doyle started working as an informant back in 2006 after being detained by a dishonest Chicago police officer named. In 2011, a homeless man informed Ronald Watts and another police officer that he was a notorious street cop who was known for shackling drug dealers and accepting bribes. The situation got so out of control that the FBI, ATF, and local police departments all became involved in the investigation. Was transporting money for a drug dealer on the day they robbed him for $5,200, but they were unaware that the homeless man was really a federal informant who was being used to frame him. As a result, in 2013, the officer was found guilty, and the city of Chicago was forced to overturn more than 200 convictions involving him. According to the Trenches News officer, Watts was engaged with Watts in 2006 and stated, "He asked me if I wanted to go to jail, or if I wanted my money. I said I'd go to jail. He took me to jail. As soon as I got out, I got up with the feds." What was strange about that? However, according to Trenches News, he claimed he didn't recall working with the FBI in 2008-2011, despite the lawyer producing documents that demonstrated his cooperation at that time. This is because, since he was shot in the head in 2004, his memory is severely impaired, which is still having a significant negative impact on him. The prosecution's evidence that O'Block is a gang and that the 6Z they arrested killed Duck for the group is a significant aspect of this case. They claim that Duck became the group's biggest op and that King Bond put a bag on Duck's head when Duck appeared to represent the STL-EBT set of the GEDs. Brick, his older brother, was already associated with them and had a reputation in the community. However, Duck created his own lane, gained notoriety for throwing hands with the ops, and was said to have never lost a fight. Duck had a close relationship with Tuka, who was allegedly killed by O.D. Perry from Wick City after Tuka's death. After ducking his homies, Billionaire Black and King Yella decided to hop in the booth, claiming he's the one-up and getting everything started around the same time the BDS in Chicago were really taking over the rap game after Chief Keef, the news claims. Homies began repping Tville, and Duck always kept Ka's name alive in his WS trenches. Blew up the song. I don't like how Lil Reese and Dirk were disappearing too, and according to Trench's report, they were attempting to get Duck and his homies black balls. Industry Duck continued to have some success in the drill scene, but he never truly left the streets in 2013 until someone discovered him. Shot in a liquor store, but Duck only was struck once in the leg and survived. He had also been shot in the ankle, but Duck assured DJ that he would never leave Chicago because he knew how to get around safely and had to take care of. Duck, his friend Dosky the Man, and his brother FBG Brick were both killed in a drive-by shooting in 2017. Duck continued to push in the raft game and eventually broke off with the track Slide, but his losses in the streak continued. All of his people, regrettably, suffered another enormous loss in 2017. Allegedly, King BOM is behind the plot to catch him at the funeral and is on track back again. Vaughn RS, I might just slide rested Pete shot everyone at your funeral. Duck's friend, Rookie, was shot in the head during his funeral after the opposing party busted off shots at the church. The line "Your homie died, I'm smoking, that I'm tired of smelling Tuka and Low Mark, and I'm tired of Scrap Duck and his homie Ruga CLA" was Vaughn's jab at Tuka, and that's outside, bet. For this one, I bet Key is still twitching. He changed something different, then V and Mimo 600 dropped the track, exposing me. Returning with the song's remix, Duck clowned a number of Vaughn's deceased friends when he rapped, got stuck in traffic, and finished his status update online before getting caught without it. "Yo, buddy, you heard me right, he's dead." Additionally, Tire Heads and Roy D. Things were featured. Little Steve, the brother of the clown Mimo, was shot and died. These details were mentioned in Tuka. "I wish I had been there when Little Boo fell asleep. I don't have my Glock when I spot an OP, bro. I'm smoking. Little Steve can't breathe. He thinks it's over." I would have continued with it, but a month before he was slain, Doug fired more rounds at the dead and made the Chicago Legends. It was just commercial. He stated he wasn't going to dismember the dead, and although I did so, the prosecutors said that T, Roy, and OD were dead. Most people think that V took out the hit on Duck, and following his assassination, V allegedly spent over $100,000 on antique blockchains for his friend Vaughn. Little Dirk also revealed that Duck was one of their largest operations. In a block, they placed a $50,000 bounty on Duck's head, later raising it to a $100,000 bounty. I informed my PO via the gate that I get high, and she asked me how high you think I get. He's still taking shots at him even after he's dead. Like on the track, he should have crouched when he saw you walk outside without your gun. You dummas ain't no quick run to the store, they pop out and fire you up. I know that I informed her that Duck King BOM was slain a few months later, but the guys he reportedly bribed to assassinate Duck are currently in the rap game's wildest trial ever. The case should start soon, so stay tuned for updates when more news drops.